The Y'all Show is back with you. Now we're ready to talk a little country music thanks to our friend on Music Row in Nashville, and that's Preshias Harris. John Rawl here talking about the South, and we bring on Miss Mama P is her nickname, and we're glad to have her back here on the show that's all about the South. Hello, Preshias.
Hello. You doing okay today, Mr. John?
I'm good. You look like you're ready for a big award show.
I'm going to be, I've actually taped it just in case. The ACMs are this week, well, from the Opry House. But they've got some pretty special recordings from some of the, like the Ryman Auditorium and the Bluebird, which is two of our most famous venues here in town. That was already pre-recorded. But I'm pretty excited for the awards. I'm glad they weren't canceled. I'm just praying. I'm sorry. I just love all the business things, the CMT Awards, the CMA Fest, the NAMM show, everything. And I'm just thankful to God they did not cancel the ACMs. I know they did cancel the Americana Music Festival and Honors and Awards show, which really was very disheartening because I love Americana music. And I actually have a couple of clients who are Americana artists. So that was sort of sad, but next year be twice as good, more performers, and that's why I'm going to try to look at it.
You mentioned the Americana Awards, and oddly enough, they have canceled that this week in Nashville. And originally, that was supposed to be held at the Ryman Auditorium, I think. And the ACMs, which are taking place on Wednesday night, they have a presence at the Ryman. They also have a presence at the Bluebird Cafe and at the Grand Ole Opry House, too, I believe. Am I right on all those venues?
Yeah, well, actually, everything's been pre-taped, so to speak, at the Bluebird and the Ryman, because they knew that the Americana Awards was going on, but because of the ACMs usually are held in Las Vegas, and they are here in Nashville this time, I think they were trying to connect with our city a little bit more in doing the special things. COVID could be a part of it. I did not see that in the press release, but I'm just knowing that they've been held in Las Vegas for many, many years, and now they're here in Nashville. It makes me think that they are trying to connect with country music. Just because they're in LA, Las Vegas doesn't mean that they don't love country music or Nashville. It's just the site of where they can actually bring everybody together there. And so it is the 50th anniversary.
It's the 55th. Right there, we see it on our screen. 55th ACM Awards in Nashville, not in Vegas.
Yeah.
Has it been in Nashville before?
I think one time several years ago, but you have to realize I keep award shows in my head for 30 years, which is how long I've been attending things in Nashville. So I think they did move the CMA Awards one time to the Big Apple, but I'm not for sure about the ACM Awards. I have to double check that, but I know that the CMA Awards did 1 year in New York.
And I know people get those confused at times. The CMA Awards is still on in Nashville. It's set for November, early November. So you still have another 2 months before the CMAs.
Yes, we're with the 11th. And Academy of Country Music is what the ACM stands for. And of course, the CMAs is the Country Music Association. They tend to be, there's a couple of surprises this year. I don't have to double check, but I know that some of the artists I was expecting to see on the awards show did not make it across to the other board. So I was a little anxious about that. So, but I think it was, I'm not for sure. I have to look at the CMA Awards, but I know that I read an article where Kelsey was left out of one of the nominations. So I know she's nominated for Academy of Country Music along with Miranda and Marin and Casey and Carrie for the ACM Awards as a female artist. But I haven't had a chance to, because I've been focusing on the ACMs this week because they are here in Nashville, that I have to double check for the CMA. But she said it really doesn't bother her as long as she gets her music out. So, that's Miss Kelsey. I've known her for many years, and she's very much what you see is what you get with her, which is in fresh air.
Preshias, let's quickly go through some of these ACM nominees for the 55th ACM Awards taking place September 16th in Nashville, Tennessee. And I have to give you a personal shout out because one of the nominees for Video of the Year 10,000 Hours, Dan and Shay featuring Justin Bieber. That's among the nominees for Video of the Hour. Precious, what's that connection to you there?
My husband storyboarded that video to make sure that everybody got a fair shake at the time span of the video. And, he wasn't allowed to tell me what he was doing. He was like signed an NDA, non-disclosure. Anyway, he wouldn't tell me. And he said, I can't tell you. All I can tell you is that it's 3 people. It's a trio. And I'm like, Midland just came out, so scratch that. Rascal Flatts is fixing to go on an ending tour, to regroup to retire next year. So I don't think it's that. I'm going, I don't know any other trio that would be involved. Lady A had just had Oceans come out, so I'm like, no, that's not it. So anyway, finally he got to show me. He goes, okay, here's the duo. And no, he goes, here's the 3. You want to see? And I went, yeah. And rolled up, there's Dan, there's Shay. And I went, they're not a trio, they're a duo. He goes, well, who's this third person here? And I went, Justin flipping Bieber? But, and he goes, yeah, but I can tell you now. So I still couldn't say anything yet. But once it got released, like I said, I think at the last count, it was like 20 million views or something like that on YouTube. That's just on YouTube. That doesn't count on some of the other social areas. But very proud of my husband on that. He's usually the actor. Like he played the doctor in One Hell of an Amen. Mm-hmm. And he played the doctor in Craig Morgan's song. And then, he's plays some of the different videos. I think he's been in like 14 different videos and 3 different country music movies. But it's funny to see him on the other side of the pen now, even though he did help with Taylor Swift's early stuff with Trey Fanjoy, working with her. But I'm very proud of my husband.
All right. Shout out to Mr. Harris on the nominee there for Video of the Year. Other nominees in that category include Blake Shelton with God's Country one-man band from Old Dominion, Thomas Rhett, Remember You Young, and Little Big Town with Sugarcoat. I have not even seen or heard several of those nominees, so I have to think that your husband and Dan and Shay plus Justin Bieber have a pretty good chance of walking away winners for 10,000 Hours as Video of the Year. But that song's also nominated in Music Event of the Year category. They're nominated alongside Garth Brooks and Blake Shelton's Dive Bar. That was a fun song that was out in 2019. Fooled Around and Fell in Love, Miranda Lambert featuring Maren Morris, Ashley McBride, Tennille Towns, Kaylee Hammock, and Elle King. That song is among the Music Event of the Year nominees. Old Town Road. That's going to be hard to beat, Precious. Little Nas X featuring Billy Ray Cyrus. And then lastly, Brantley Gilbert and Lindsay Ells, What Happens in a Small Town.
Yeah, I love them all. Like I said, I guess I'm partial to Miranda and her group of girls. And, and I hate to say go girl power, but I always recommend that song because it's easy to use your voice as an instrument when my kids are doing talent competitions and they have to do a cover. And if that song is listed, it's that one and Drift Away and a couple of other ones that you can actually bring the soulfulness into it and the different parts of the vocal cords and use them to your advantage if you're a good singer and you have really good control. And it does help in a talent competition. So you may just have your guitar, but if you have 2 instruments, your voice is one, then you're also doubling it as an instrument. It makes for a great, great live performance.
Precious got to give a special acknowledgement to Kelsey Ballerina. You were just talking about her a minute ago. She's among the Female Artist of the Year nominees alongside Miranda Lambert, Maren Morris, Casey Musgraves, and Carrie Underwood among the nominees. And then the big award, the Entertainer of the Year from the ACMs on Wednesday, Luke Bryan, Eric Church, Luke Combs, Thomas Rhett, and the aforementioned Carrie Underwood. What's Preshias Harris's take on who might walk away with the Entertainer of the Year from the ACM?
Well, I have pros and cons of each one. It honestly could be anybody's game. Because of the voting started during the pandemic and some of the concerts have already been canceled, which would have influenced the actual outcome of the Entertainer of the Year. For voting wise, mm-hmm. If they would have got to tour, the playing field would have definitely went by the attendance of the crowds and the stadium tours and stuff. But right now, because the playing field is level because of pandemic. Because we started looking at the vote for some of the things right after pandemic in April, so it's slowly led up. And I do think that you're going to see a couple of huge surprises tomorrow night.
All right. Again, it's the ACM Awards, the 55th ACM Awards, and that'll be on CBS. And it's been pre-recorded from 3 different venues. You're looking there at an image of the Ryman Auditorium. That's one of the so-called host sites. The Bluebird Cafe, Precious, there's not a whole lot of room in that particular venue, so I don't know how they're going to pull that off. But that's also there alongside the Grand Ole Opry House, the 55th ACM Awards here this week from Nashville, Tennessee. We need to make sure this thing doesn't go back to Vegas and it stays in Nashville going forward.
I would love that. And I tell you, one of my favorite things, and I'm looking forward to seeing, is the Miranda perform at the Bluebird Cafe, the song Bluebird. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to see if there's any extra props there. Because I think of it as a songwriting round right now, and a place for songwriters together in a circle or on the stage across, depending on what it is. So I'm anxious to see how they film it there, because like you said, it holds barely 100 people. I'm talking barely. So it's probably not going to have a lot of people there, just what has to be there. Maybe her crew, her manager and things. And I can't even imagine the cameras and the equipment that has to be set up there. It's going to be a tight little room. So I'm anxious to see how it turns out.
Again, all right here this week in Nashville, Tennessee. Some breaking news, Precious. This just came across before we went live. And sadly, country music songwriter Troy Jones has died at the age of 64 in a tragic accident. He was electrocuted, and he's a guy who's written a couple of songs. Billy Currington, Pretty Good at Drinking Beer, is one of the songs that Troy Jones known for. Have you heard about this news? Can you tell me more about Troy Jones?
I have not. He's like I said, he's been around for a very long time here in town. I was actually in the studio before I got here. I have a client that is finishing up some tracks, and I got to preview some of them. So I come in here flying like a bird when I entered the office just now. But I had not heard, but I definitely want to, we just lost so many in our music community. And, especially the way it happened, sad news for Mr. Jones's family.
Yeah, and Shift Work was a song he helped write. And Kenny Chesney and George Strait, they had that song out, and I think at one point, and he's had a lot of cuts from a lot of artists. I found out because the Oak Ridge Boys put this out on their Facebook feed. At 64, again, killed in a electrical deal on a dock or a pier or something like that, as he was outside on September 11th working or playing or something. Troy Jones, who came to Nashville from Sylacauga, Alabama, killed here in the last couple of days. Our thoughts to the Jones family there for that unfortunate news that we've had to share with you here on today's Y'all Show. Okay, Precious, let's move on. Luke Combs, he has racked up wins at the iHeartRadio Music Awards, Country Artist of the Year, Country Song of the Year for Beautiful Crazy, and Country Album of the Year for What You See Is What You Get. Precious, are we going to see Luke Combs keep adding to his award cabinet here this week as well as at the CMA Awards in November?
I will be real surprised if he doesn't win something. Real surprised. Like I said, he still stayed on social media and was doing and doing the concerts and still interacting with his fans. I would be real surprised if he did not walk away with male vocalist, even though we got a huge, massive hit with Thomas Rhett. Mm-hmm. Like I said, once again, the pandemic is going to affect everything we see tomorrow night on the television on this awards ceremony. There's just no way around it,
Precious,
because, concerts, people text and film and share, the concerts, that just grows. Here comes another fan, here comes this, and it just grows, and that's not been able to happen. So I'll be real surprised. Like I said, he's got enough nominations. He better win something.
Precious, I don't know about you, but I'm getting kind of tired of this pandemic. And one way to put it in the rearview mirror is to think about other things, including a little country music trivia courtesy of Preshias Harris. By the way, Precious has lots of trivia questions and more, and they're all part of her effort that you can go check out anytime you're able to. I Know Country. That's got 366 daily country music questions and answers. The website is iknowcountry.com. Preshias is also a music career development consultant, as she helps new and aspiring artists and songwriters right there at her office that you're seeing right there on Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee. And you can go to NashvilleMusicLine.com to learn more about what Preshias does. She just told you she just came from the studio working with one of her clients. Man, I'd love to have been a fly on that wall. And Preshias.
It's so good. I just say it's so good.
Oh, I know it was, Preshias. I know it was. And because if it's got Preshias's stamp of approval, you know it's going to be good. But yes, it's NashvilleMusicLine.com to learn more about what Preshias does. And we've had her on talking about some of the ins and outs of songwriting. We'll maybe mix in a question or two about that profession in just a second. But let me first start off, Preshias, with a trivia question that you cannot answer right this second. We'll get the answer momentarily. But the trivia question here on our Nashville Music Line report with Preshias Harris is this was released in September 2006. Red High Heels is the title of the debut single for which artist? Is it Carrie Underwood, Kellie Pickler, Miranda Lambert, or Toby Keith? Surely Toby Keith didn't have Red High Heels as a song out. But we'll find out the answer to that trivia question in just a moment with Preshias Harris as we continue our discussion of all things country music with Preshias right now. And Preshias, Tanya Tucker, I noticed that some news about Tanya, Miss T, Miss Dynamite, or however you want to call her, as she's in the news and more. And she's going to release live from the Troubadour in mid-October. What more can you tell us about Miss T and live from the Troubadour?
Well, you know, the Troubadour is an iconic place for country people getting started in California. It's just like the Bluebird here in Nashville. That's what Troubadour is to actually the state of California. If you played the Troubadour, you were, you know, that was a really good sign that you were on your way up. Like I said, they've been hosting her since she started in the business. In court, her album won a Grammy in February for While I'm Living. It was produced by Brandy Carlisle and Shooter Jennings. Yes, Waylon's son. But she is donating the portion of that album and from the actual album sales to them. But she's going to release a live album too on October 16th. That these are the proceeds that go for the fund to help the NIVA Association, which is the Independent National Independent Venue Association. It makes me sad because we've lost a couple of iconic places here in Nashville, and you know, just makes me sad to see music is leaving Music City, and you know, we're still bobbing, hopefully to keep it here, but it is really, really hard. But like I said, Tanya always had a heart of gold. My grandmother used to say she has a heart of gold and a potty mouth. I love reading her in the National Enquirer in her younger days. But like I said, Tanya's always jumped in and helped do everything from helping the music lines to anything you need, autograph, whatever you needed, she was there. And of course, that's Tanya. And I know she's sharing. If you get a chance, share it. Go to her on her Instagram. I think it's Tanya Tucker Official, I think. But it's got some of the details on it about when the concert is going to be October 16th. Is when everything's going to go down. So get a chance. It's all for a good cause. So help Miss T out to help her do that.
All right. And again, her latest album is forthcoming in just a few weeks. Middle of October is when you can find this album from the Troubadour. Well, Tanya Tucker kind of got on the country music charts back in the 70s. It wasn't in the Jimmy Carter era. It was in the Gerald Ford era, I'm pretty sure, when she first hit it big with Delta Dawn and more. But during those late 70s, she also had some great country music. And it's a good way to segue now, talking about presidential music and more. How about this? Jimmy Carter, Rock and Roll President. It's a new documentary, and it takes a look at how the 39th president from Plains, Georgia, how he came to be known as the first U.S. president to embrace rock and roll and contemporary music. He had Willie Nelson, of course, come to the White House at one point. I've seen him wearing a picture from that era of an Allman Brothers t-shirt and more. Jimmy Carter, Rock and Roll President. Preshias, what more can you tell us about Jimmy?
Well, President Carter, when I was in Macon, Georgia, many years back, I ended up actually in the original label of the Allman Brothers and Marshall Tucker and things like that, and came across some archives. And I'm talking 80 boxes of archives. And one of the boxes, it just said President Carter on the top of the vanilla folder. Is it vanilla or manila? I forgot. You know which one I'm talking about.
Manila.
Anyway, but
As
it said
in the
President Carter.
Philippines.
I'm just messing with you. I want to see you smile. Uh, anyway, and I opened it up and I'm like, holy cow. And it's clippings and clippings and clippings of him with the Almond Brothers and with them taking pictures of him when he was governor of Georgia running for president, and how they came and played at his annual picnic. And I was like, wow. And because you see presidents, but you see them taking pictures with heads of states and other countries and, all the floop laws that they do when you're president. But to see him taking pictures with the Almond Brothers looking like they just left a motorcycle rally, it ended up at, you know, Sweet Rosalynn and President Carter's, when he was governor, of course, picnic was really, really cool. And then the story that I heard was headed down that Carter and Willie, who diplomatically said that he smoked pot at the White House and thought that he smoked pot with one of the White House servants. President Carter led him to believe, no, that was one of my sons. It wasn't a servant. So I thought that's just like, because him and Rosalind are so down to earth. And the reason why I know this firsthand is because I had a client that was invited to sing from Georgia, Adele, Georgia. It was asked to sing at the White House, and when she was 7 or 8 years old, and Demi Downing, and so they said that President Carter and his wife were so gracious for her. Of course, she wasn't born back then, but they had something, I guess, in Georgia later on, and that she got to sing. But I thought that was so sweet that they personally invited her to come sing in Georgia.
Yeah, so. and not bad for a guy who, of course, on most Sunday mornings when he's able to, is leading his Sunday school there in Plains, Georgia. A good man of the Lord there. And Jimmy Carter took time to give rock and roll and maybe some of this outlaw country its proper credit back in the 1970s, and all this can be seen in this new documentary, Jimmy Carter, Rock and Roll President. That includes Bob Dylan. It's got Jimmy Buffett in there, Greg Allman, a little Willie Nelson info. You can see the official trailer right now on YouTube. Just search for Jimmy Carter, Rock and Roll President. Let's tell you a little bit about, since we're talking history here, it was a little bit before Jimmy Carter was president. It was this week back in 1965, Precious. The number one country album was I Got a Tiger by the Tail from Buck Owens, who said he was inspired to write the song by the tiger in the Esso gasoline advertising. The advertising for Esso was put a tiger. No, Esso. Put a tiger in your tank.
Yes.
Now, I think that Esso might have turned into Exxon here in this country, but I think Esso still exists in some countries around the world, although I'm not necessarily a globetrotter.
Remember the tail that used to come out from the gas cap?
I don't remember.
That's right. I have to remember that. You could be my grandchild.
You're a lot older than me, Precious.
I know. Oh, I'll be 6 old soon.
Oh, I was just teasing on that. But, hey, it was this week, 17 years ago. Man, that makes me feel old. 5 o'clock somewhere. Alan Jackson and Jimmy Buffett. That was number one on the charts back in 2003 this week. Also in 2003, Miranda Lambert signed a record deal with Epic Records after finishing third in the first season of the reality show Nashville Star. The winner of season 1 was Buddy Jewell, Sweet Southern Comfort, I think was the name of his song. Miranda's debut album, Kerosene, was put out by Epic Records and was certified platinum just a couple of years after it came out back in 2007. Miranda Lambert. Kudos to Miss Miranda out of Lindale, Texas, I think is her hometown. All right, this week we got some birthdays we want to share with you real quick, including today, Exile member Sonny Lemaire, as Sonny Lemaire turns 73 years young. Turning 70 years young today is David Bellamy, a half of the Bellamy brothers. So let's let your lev flow there, David, today as you celebrate your 70th birthday. Born this week back in 1923. Sadly, we lost him, almost 70 years ago. Hank Williams, Sr., born September 17th in Geneva, Alabama. I think I'm right on that, south of Montgomery. Also
Yes.
born this week is Maddie and Tay's Tay Dye. She was born in 1995, so she
Oh my
celebrates
God, it makes me feel old.
25th birthday for Tay Dye. TD, as we like to call her. Also this week, birthdays for Jeff Bates, Trisha Yearwood, and Chase Rice. Precious, we got to answer that trivia question. Released back in September of 2006, Red High Hills is the title of the debut single for which country music artist? And we got a couple of different options for you to choose from. Was it A, Carrie Underwood, B, Kellie Pickler, C, Miranda Lambert, or was it Toby Keith? And your answer is?
It was Kellie Pickler. And when I had to actually think about this, but she has been around for almost 13, 14 years then. If it was in 2006, to 2016 is 10, and then 4 to 20, wow, it is almost 14 years old. It just doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it has been.
It has been.
I remember her, you got to watch her audition for American Idol. She goes, pick me, pick Pickler. Yep. And if you look at her now, and back to the lady, she's just very classy, and the way she speaks, and you look at her audition, you could tell that she really, I think her grandparents might have brought her to the audition, but you can tell that she went from the country to the stage like that quick, and then from the stage to a record deal. So I think she got signed off of that, but she said, pick me, pick Pickler. And they took it because her personality was so magical, because they try to have someone who's got a good personality and a good showman stage show, and apparently she did. So
and
congratulations, Miss
Kellie. The last few years she's been on television, so she's kind of a very talented North Carolinian.
Changed records and changed labels, and so she's been pretty busy.
Another talented North Carolinian remains atop the country music chart, Luke Combs, and Love It On You. It's number 1 on the Billboard Airplay Top 5 of country music songs. At number 2 is a South Carolinian that's pretty darn talented, Lee Brice, and One of Them Girls. Something tells me that's going to be a number 1 before you knew it for Sumter's own Lee Brice. Kane Brown from North Georgia, he's got number 3 this week with Cool Again. Jason Aldean, the Georgia boy, with Got What I Got is number 4. And then Maddie and Tay, the Texas and Oklahoma duo, they're at number 5 as their song has kind of crept downward after it was atop the charts not long ago with Die From a Broken Heart, a beautiful song from Maddie and Tay. And that's a quick look at what's in the top 5 of country music here this week. Precious, big week for you. ACM Awards. What are you going to wear?
I'm probably going to be wearing my jammies. No kidding. They have a virtual media room, but because of just things going on, I've got some major projects with my clients. So I prioritize that instead of, for media stuff. But the good thing is I have other people that are going to be able to do the media stuff that will feed us to the main feed for our PR stuff. So I'm excited. I just want to watch it. Plus I can watch it and do it right there at the end of the night. So it's not going to be a big deal. I'm just thankful to God they did not cancel.
Yeah, we need this. Just like there's a certain football team that plays in Nashville called the Titans, and they had a big Monday night game. They won that game, and I know it's not quite the same, but at least it's a little bit more normalcy is the word of having football played and now award shows and maybe the kiddos going back to school. And Precious, you're working there at your office. I'm working here at the Yall studios. So we got to get this country, we got to get it going.
I know. I'm just look back and I'm thinking, like this morning, I have a kidney transplant, so I do have to wear a mask when I go out. Because, and I don't mean to brag, but 88 surgeries, I need to protect myself.
88 surgeries, that's all?
Yes. And I've seen, like, a friend of mine was sick for 30 days with a fever, 105 for 2. And because he still was able to breathe okay, they didn't hospitalize him. And then I had someone here in the office have it. And all she had was the sneezes for 3 days and like cold symptoms and was fine. And then, of course, I lost an uncle from it. So all the symptoms are different, but I don't want to take a chance. So I had my mask on, and I was leaving an establishment picking up my Subway today, and lady was at the door with her mask around her chin, and I said, and I just said, can you scoot back just a little bit? And she goes, I don't want to talk to you because she had her. And I said, that's okay. I have a kidney transplant, but I'm sorry. That's okay. And she moved back and let me through. But I'm thinking, if you been through all the stuff I've been through since I was 13 years old, you would have your mask on too, you know. And I know it's like a seatbelt thing, but just out of respect, it's just like opening the door, But we were about 2 feet apart. But like I said, I don't know, and and she had a cigarette in her hand, which is not too cool anyway to walk in a establishment, a Subway. We were standing at the door with a cigarette, but like I said, I just let it go, and I get in the car, and I'm thinking, I'll be glad when this is over with, so we can stop having awkward interactions like that I've never dealt with before. So
I know.
And I don't like being like that.
I bless, as we say in the South, Precious, bless your heart. I can't imagine all the stuff you've had to go through with your illness and transplants and cancer and then having to deal with all this coronavirus stuff. Preshias Harris, thank you, and you have a good rest of your week, and good luck with the ACM Awards.
All right. See you next week. Let me know when you're ready to visit Music Row again. We're ready for you.
I'm ready to get there, everybody, and that will wrap up our conversation with Preshias, and that will wrap up our visit here talking about country music. Got to thank Tina Joe on Facebook. She correctly guessed Kellie Pickler as the lady that had that song that we had as part of our trivia question. So, Tina Joe, thank you very much for participating. We don't have any gifts. Our only gifts is just bringing you this Nashville Music Line report. Until we meet again, y'all, thanks for listening and thanks for watching the show that truly is all about the South. We'll see you.